Yes, The Truman Show is a legendary movie. But just how great is it really? In this video, we'll break it down into 10 categories: opening and closing scene, main role, supporting cast, script, direction, cinematography, production design and VFX, editing and pacing, soundtrack and sound design, and we'll finish off with my personal feelings on the movie. Each category will be awarded a maximum of 10 points, thus grading Truman on the scale of 0 to 100. Let's get into it.
The opening scene is a certified all-time great none of us will ever forget. Truman steps out of his front door and greets his neighbors with a megawatt smile and a line that feels like it's been rehearsed 1,000 times.
Good morning!
Morning! Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Right away, the film tells us exactly what it's about. A man whose entire existence is a performance, delivered straight to an unseen audience. The line is cheerful, polished, and weirdly overpracticed, like a sign-off from a daytime talk show host. Jim Carrey nails the delivery. Just charming enough to feel real, just mechanical enough to feel off. Even the composition of the shot helps sell the illusion. The camera is placed low and angled slightly upward, like it's mounted inside a flower bed or a lawn gnome. It's friendly, but it's also voyeuristic. And that's the genius of the scene. It makes us complicit. We are already watching Truman the same way the in-universe audience does. Cheerfully, unquestioningly, from behind hidden glass. It's economical, clever, and thematically loaded. I'd give the opening scene a 5 out of 5. It sets the tone, the satire, and the tragedy in under a minute. The final scene of The Truman Show is as iconic as its first, maybe even more. After surviving the storm, after hitting the sky, Truman finds the literal edge of his world. He touches the painted wall, climbs the hidden staircase, and reaches the exit door. Then Christoph speaks to him over the intercom like a god addressing his creation. A last-ditch attempt to keep the illusion alive. He offers comfort, safety, even love. But Truman pauses, smiles, and delivers the same line we heard at the start. Except this time, it's different.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
The delivery is quieter, more human. No longer a performance, it's a farewell. A goodbye to the artificial world, to his captor, and to us, the audience who's been watching. He steps through the open door into the unknown. No applause, no music cues, just silence. Truman exits with dignity, not spectacle. The world, however, erupts. It's a perfect ending, symbolic without being heavy-handed, emotional without being manipulative. A man walks into the unknown, choosing freedom over comfort. 5 out of 5. When we combine the two, we get 10 out of 10 for this category. Let's talk about Jim Carrey as Truman Burbank. This role cemented Carrey as more than the rubber-faced star of Ace Ventura and The Mask. We've already talked about that iconic front porch greeting. Bright, polished, just a little too perfect. Now let's zoom out. Carrey's Truman starts as the cheerful everyman, blissfully unaware of the artificial world around him. But as the facade of Seahaven cracks, he carries us through a journey from innocence to defiance. His performance isn't just a shift from comedy to drama, it's a masterclass in balancing both, revealing Truman's growing unease with every subtle gesture and layered emotion. As suspicion creeps in, so does the brilliance of Carrey's performance. He lets the cracks show slowly. Side glances, pauses before smiling, that shift in his tone when he starts questioning coincidences. His comedic instincts don't vanish, they're just repurposed. Take the bathroom scenes as an example. First, he pretends to be a mountain climber, then a space explorer settling a new planet. On the surface, it's funny, but underneath, it's heartbreaking. He is using imagination to regain a sense of control, turning paranoia into play. The breakdown in the street is where Carrey truly shines. As Truman swerves through traffic, trying to outmaneuver the invisible script around him, we see the comedian's physical talents harnessed for dramatic purpose. His movements are frantic, but never random. Every gesture reveals a man teetering between panic and resolve. What's most impressive is how Carrey avoids turning Truman's awakening into a sudden transformation. Instead, he layers in a lifetime of sublimated doubts that gradually surface. That quiet moment with Marlon on the bridge, where Truman almost lets himself be convinced everything is normal, shows a man fighting against his own instincts to maintain the comfort of delusion. When he sails into the storm, eyes wide with both fear and resolve, we are watching a man push past existential horror into freedom. And Carrey doesn't overplay it. No dramatic screaming, no Oscar clip theatrics, just a quiet, powerful determination. By the time Truman reaches the wall of his world, Carrey has stripped away all performative elements. The raw vulnerability as he presses his hand against the painted sky is devastating precisely because we witnessed every step of the journey that brought him there. His final line, "In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening and good night," isn't just a catchphrase, it lands like a victory. He reclaims his own sign-off from the show that tried to script his life. It's a career-defining turn that shocked a lot of people in 1998. Jim Carrey didn't even get an Oscar nomination, and many still see that as a snub. And yeah, I'm one of them. He absolutely should have been nominated. But to be honest, that year, Roberto Benigni won Best Actor for Life is Beautiful, and his performance was even better. That's why I'm giving Carrey a 9 out of 10 here. It's not a knock, it's still a sensational performance. On to the supporting cast next. Laura Linney as Meryl perfectly captures that forced cheerfulness of someone who's been playing a part for too long. Her smile never quite reaches her eyes. Her enthusiasm feels rehearsed. Even her gestures seem designed for camera angles rather than natural interaction. That moment when she nervously pitches Makoka while Truman is having a breakdown, it is awkward, robotic, and absolutely perfect.
Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mountain Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
What the hell are you talking about?
When she finally breaks character with that famous "do something" moment, it's so effective because Linney has spent the entire film building this facade of perfection. When it cracks spectacularly. Natasha McElhone as Sylvia is beyond exquisite. She is the only character who feels genuinely spontaneous in Truman's world, which explains why he's still obsessed with her years later. She represents the authenticity and warmth that's missing from his life. Her most impactful moment comes when she confronts Christoph on live TV, saying, "What you've done to Truman is sick." It's a raw, emotional plea that cuts through the artificiality of the show, reminding us of the human stakes at play. Holland Taylor, as Truman's mother, nails the role of a staged parent whose warmth feels just a tad too polished. Her delivery of lines like,
Well, it's about time they cleaned up the trash downtown before we become just like the rest of the country.
drips with the kind of scripted cheer you'd hear in a TV ad, perfectly encapsulating the fakeness of Truman's world. This performance was so spot on, it landed her a similar role as Evelyn Harper in the sitcom 2.5 Men, showcasing her knack for playing a manipulative and theatrical mother. Noah Emmerich as Marlon brings a different kind of manipulation. He isn't over the top like Meryl, he is calm, reassuring, he is the voice of reason, which makes him even more dangerous. His fake best friend energy is weaponized to keep Truman in line. That scene by the bridge where he says, "If everybody is in on it, I would have to be in on it too," is delivered with such sincerity it almost convinces us. Take the vending machine scene, where Truman talks to him while he's stocking candy bars. As Truman spills his doubts, Marlon nods along, but the second Truman looks away, Marlon sneaks those same bars right back out. It's so subtle, most viewers miss it entirely. Then there's Christoph, played by Ed Harris. He could have played this as a mustache-twirling villain, but instead, he gives us this calm, almost fatherly figure who genuinely believes he is protecting Truman. It's a performance that walks a razor's edge, warm enough to believe in his love for Truman, cold enough to justify manipulating his entire life. The way Harris delivers the line, "We accept the reality of the world with which we are presented," isn't just explaining the premise, it's revealing Christoph's entire worldview in one sentence. Harris earned an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor, and honestly, I think he deserved the win. Even the background actors pull their weight. The neighbors, the extras walking by, the security at the elevator, everyone has that overly rehearsed rhythm that makes Seahaven feel staged. They are not trying to be natural, they are trying to look natural on camera, and that difference is key. What's remarkable is how cohesive the performances are. Everyone in the cast hits the same slightly unreal tone, which keeps the illusion believable for Truman and for us. With all that in mind, the supporting cast gets a 10 out of 10. I'm not saying this lightly, folks. This means there are just a handful of movies in history with supporting cast I think is as good. I know that might surprise some of you. Would you too rank them higher than Jim Carrey? Share your thoughts below. The script, penned by Andrew Niccol, is deceptively simple on the surface. At its core, it uses everyday conversations, coffee shop chatter, friendly banter, small town greetings, but layers in just enough oddness to keep us uneasy. When Truman says, "Good morning, and in case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night," it sounds like a friendly catchphrase, but it doubles as a scripted sign-off, a reminder that every moment of his life is on the air. Niccol also peppers the script with subtle expositional moments that never feel forced. Instead of dumping backstory in a monologue, we learn about Seahaven's origins through offhand remarks by neighbors, newspapers in the background, and Christoph's calm, father-like explanations. This approach keeps the world feeling organic until the organic veneer begins to crack. That said, there is one moment in the script that doesn't quite land for me. When Truman looks at his wedding photos and notices that his wife had her fingers crossed during the vows, it feels a little cartoonish. The intention is clear. She was never really in love with him, but the execution lacks the restraint the rest of the film shows. It's the only scene that feels more like a gag than a genuine moment, and it momentarily breaks the film's emotional tone. One of the most brilliant choices Andrew Niccol makes in the script is crafting a thematic dialogue between Truman and Christoph, even though they almost never speak directly to each other. Truman, a man slowly waking up, searching for truth. Christoph, distant and godlike, calmly justifying his control in philosophical terms. Their voices are woven throughout the film,
not in a literal conversation, but in a constant clash of ideals. Truth versus illusion, freedom versus control. That contrast is baked into the structure and tone of the script, and it gives the story its slow-burning tension. Christoph isn't written as a clear-cut villain, he is a deluded artist, convinced he is protecting Truman from the chaos of real life. When Truman's wife Meryl suddenly says,
Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mountain Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
What the hell are you talking about?
it's funny as a commercial parody, but devastating as a glimpse into Truman's manipulated life. And that final confrontation between Truman and Christoph. Pure screenwriting gold. No physical meeting, just a voice from the sky and a man in a boat. Yet it delivers more emotional impact than most face-to-face showdowns in film history. By the time Truman stands at the edge of the dome, his dialogue has built from casual curiosity to outright defiance, mirroring our own journey alongside him. The script gets 8.5 out of 10. It won Nicole the BAFTA for Best Original Screenplay, and it was even nominated for Best Original Screenplay at the Academy Awards. It is sharp, layered, emotionally rich, and every line, no matter how small, serves the story's themes of authenticity, control, and the human yearning for freedom. Let's talk about the direction, because without Peter Weir at the helm, this movie could have completely fallen apart. Weir had to essentially direct 3 different movies at once. The actual film we're watching, the 24-hour TV show within the film, and Truman's authentic moments when he's breaking free from both. What makes Weir's direction so brilliant is how he smoothly shifts between these layers. Sometimes we're watching the Truman Show broadcast with its cheesy TV quality. Sometimes we're behind the scenes with Christoph. And other times we are intimately connected to Truman's genuine experience. Weir transitions between these realities without ever confusing the audience. Notice how Weir directs the actors playing the cast of Truman's World.
He would sort of like throw you a diamond of an idea and you just run with it. She was a rabidly ambitious, powerful woman who, when not on the set, my idea was that she had this huge room with an enormous conference table and she was just making deals left, right, and center and making an enormous amount of money. That she had gained so much popularity through the show that she had an enormous amount of power.
They are not just acting, they are portraying people who are performing.
So you're an actress playing an actress who's playing a character in a reality TV show, basically.
Laura Linney doesn't just play Meryl, she plays Hannah Gill playing Meryl. There is this deliberate phoniness in their performances that feels exactly like what actors stuck in a decades-long TV show would become. The pacing of the film is masterful. Weir spends the first act establishing the strange normality of Truman's world. The second act slowly dismantling it through Truman's growing suspicions. And the third act breaking it wide open with his escape. It builds with the precision of a thriller, even though it is technically a drama. He also directs Jim Carrey brilliantly. Initially, Carrey's acting mirrors a sitcom star. Big smiles, spirited waves, perfectly fitting Seahaven's artificial charm. But as Truman's doubts grow, Weir paces Carrey's shift to subtle vulnerability. That transition feels earned, not jarring. And then there is the tone. This story could have easily become too dark or too silly, but Weir keeps it grounded, even when it's satirical. He never loses sight of the emotional core. A man trying to find out what's real. The way Weir directs the weather sequence on the boat deserves special attention. He creates a genuinely terrifying storm scene, but keeps cutting to Christoph, calmly orchestrating it all. This contrast between Truman's genuine fear and the artificial nature of the threat creates perfect dramatic tension. Weir also knows exactly when to be subtle and when to go big. Most of the film has this quiet, observational quality, but when Truman finally hits the edge of his world, Weir gives us this enormous theatrical moment that feels earned because of all the restraint that came before it. And those final moments, Truman climbing those stairs, touching the wall, taking his final bow, Weir directs these with such emotional clarity that we feel both the triumph of escape and the uncertainty of what comes next. I'm giving the direction a 9.5 out of 10. Peter Weir's work here earned him an Oscar nomination and a BAFTA award for Best Direction, and deservedly so. Let's take a look at the cinematography, because the camera isn't just watching Truman, it's part of the story. The film constantly switches between two distinct visual styles. When we're seeing Truman's world as the TV audience sees it, we get these perfect, composed TV shots, clean, bright, almost commercial-like. But when we're experiencing Truman's perspective, the camera gets looser, more intimate, more handheld. It feels like we are sneaking past the show's cameras to see the real Truman. Bizot brilliantly uses vignetting to mimic a TV broadcast. The show within the show has blurred, darkened edges, like hidden camera footage, while behind-the-scenes shots feel clear and cinematic, subtly signaling which reality we are seeing. Bizot used fisheye lenses, unusual angles, and surveillance-style framing throughout. There are shots from inside mirrors, behind shelves, even from the dashboard of a car. It is meant to feel intrusive, like the camera is always watching, always present, but never acknowledged. Just like the audience inside the film, we are voyeurs too. This feeling of being watched extends to the way shots are composed. Truman is often placed dead center in the frame or boxed in by objects. It is subtle, but it gives you a sense of him being trapped, even during ordinary moments of his day. Lighting plays into this controlled reality as well. Seahaven is always evenly lit, like a sitcom set. There is no moody shadows or dramatic contrast. It looks safe, it looks fake. The lighting is part of the illusion, another layer of control over Truman's world. This contrast is clearest during the storm sequence. When Truman is on the boat, the camera work gets frantic and unstable, but it keeps cutting back to Christoph in the control room where the shots are perfectly steady. This visual contrast tells us everything about who is in control and who isn't. As Truman starts to push back against his reality, the camera work shifts in response. We get more traditional cinematic shots. The movement becomes less rigid. The framing opens up. It's like the film slowly switches from surveillance footage to an actual movie. As Truman becomes aware of his story, the visual language evolves with him. Remember that moment Truman spins through the revolving door? Instead of heading to work like always, he twirls in circles, popping back out the way he came. The in-world cameras scramble, shaky, out of focus, struggling to keep him in frame. It's a brilliant touch of cinematography, showing the showrunners caught off guard as Truman's defiance starts to crack their perfect control. From here, the visual rebellion only grows. And that final scene where Truman climbs the stairs to the exit door, the camera slowly pulls back, getting wider and wider. It is no longer the intimate, spying camera, it is giving him space. It's letting him go. The cinematography itself is freeing him from the frame. I'm giving the cinematography a 9 out of 10. Peter Bizot's BAFTA-winning work is technically masterful, and every shot brilliantly drives the story's core themes: surveillance, reality, and the fight for freedom. Alright, let's talk about the production design in The Truman Show, because it's doing way more than just looking nice. The entire town of Seahaven is built to be a trap that doesn't feel like one. Gassner drew inspiration from Norman Rockwell paintings and 1960s postcards, aiming for an idealized American small town aesthetic. It's bright, it's clean, it's picture perfect, but that perfection is what makes it feel off. Pastel-colored houses, spotless streets, and friendly neighbors who always smile just a little too wide. Filming took place in Seaside, Florida, a real planned community known for its picturesque architecture, which was chosen for its inherent artificiality. That is what makes it so brilliant. It's a real place, but on camera it feels too good to be true. Exactly like Truman's world. Now pay attention to how everyday objects are hiding the show's surveillance. Cameras are built into radios, mirrors, even buttons on people's clothes. There's a moment where a stage light literally falls from the sky. It's a glitch in the illusion, and it tells us this place isn't just fake, it's fragile. And that idea carries through in the lighting itself. Many scenes feature oddly placed or overly even lighting, something that works for a television set but feels unnatural in real life. The color scheme is another clue. Lots of soft blues and yellows. Very calm, very controlled. No harsh contrasts, no chaos. It's all designed to keep Truman emotionally comfortable, because comfort means he won't ask questions. Even the characters around him are part of the set dressing. His wife dresses like she's in a detergent ad. His best friend talks like he's reading off cue cards. That fake, old-school vibe isn't just for style. It's there to keep Truman locked in nostalgia, in a world that never changes. But the most genius part? The production design never screams for attention. It's subtle, it stays in the background like a perfect lie. And the moment Truman starts noticing the cracks, when he sees behind the curtain, everything starts to unravel. Gassner and his team built an environment that constantly communicates the film's central themes of artifice, control, and the search for authenticity, making the visual elements just as important to the storytelling as the script and performances. Key VFX moment is the rain scene, where it only rains on Truman, following him as he moves, achieved through digital compositing. I've seen some people bash VFX in the scene where camera zooms out of town to show Seahaven inside a gigantic dome visible from orbit. The production design is arguably among the best in film history. The VFX can't quite match that level, but they are used so sparingly it hardly matters. Overall, I'd give production design and VFX a strong 9 out of 10. Before we continue with the 8th category, here are 5 fun facts about The Truman Show you might find interesting. First, Ed Harris and Jim Carrey never met during filming. Actually, Harris wasn't cast until after Carrey finished filming, which made Harris's job easier since he could review Carrey's footage and adjust his performance. Second, a deleted scene reveals that Christoph and the network executives planned to start a second show centered on Truman's child with Vivian. Third, a bottle of vitamin D is visible on Truman and Meryl's kitchen table, needed because Truman gets no natural sunlight. Fourth, Ron and Don Taylor were real-life seaside cops, not actors. Director Peter Weir noticed their great rapport with the crew and cast them in the film. Finally, we can calculate Truman's exact birthday. The movie's opening credits say it's day 10,909 of the show, meaning Truman is 48 days shy of his 30th birthday. 2 days later, on day 10,911, an extra reads a newspaper dated Friday, December 13th, 1996, the only year near the film's release with that date. Counting back 10,911 days, Truman's birthday lands on Sunday, January 29th, 1967. Let's dive into the editing and pacing. Early in the film, we see a seemingly ordinary montage of Truman's life, greeting his neighbors, commuting to work, and buying magazines. Editor William M. Anderson uses steady, rhythmic cuts here, long enough to feel natural, short enough to feel like a polished TV intro. It sets up Seahaven's routine comfort, almost hypnotic in its regularity. In the lamp drop scene, the editing shines. The lamp crashes, followed by a rapid cut to Truman's shocked expression, then to the fallen fixture labeled serious, and back to Truman, all in seconds. This quick sequence delivers a sharp jolt to Seahaven's perfect illusion, planting the first seed of doubt. Another standout moment is the radio glitch scene, where Truman's car radio picks up the crew's chatter. The editing here sharpens. Shots shift from Truman's puzzled expression to the radio's static, then to fragmented glimpses of Seahaven streets as he scans for clues. These cuts are shorter and more abrupt than the film's earlier laid-back rhythm, echoing Truman's unease while keeping the pace lively. It's a clever mix of tension and subtle humor, peeling back Seahaven's facade with every disjointed frame. When Truman's father is brought back, the editing plays with our emotions. Shots of Truman's stunned, tearful reaction on the bridge blend with carefully staged close-ups of their embrace, crafted to feel like a heartfelt reunion. William M. Anderson lingers just a bit longer on Truman's face, amplifying his raw vulnerability. But then he slips in quick cuts to the crew's subtle manipulations, hinting at the orchestrated lie. This back-and-forth rhythm teases with the truth without breaking the moment's spell, building quiet tension. The storm sequence on the boat cranks the intensity. Anderson uses fast, handheld shots of churning waves, spliced with tight close-ups of Truman's panicked eyes. Then he cuts to Christoph's tranquil control room, where shots are steady, almost statuesque. This clash of frantic and frozen tempos transforms a survival struggle into a mythic man versus God battle. Then Anderson pulls back. Longer, unhurried takes let us breathe. We feel every footstep, every touch of that painted sky. The slowdown makes the triumph and uncertainty linger. Overall, the editing isn't flashy, it's elastic. It tightens when it needs to jolt us.
We'll be fine.
Exaggerating! Would you believe that? Truman, go back! Can't go back!
Then relaxes to let emotions settle.
Anderson's pacing gives the Truman Show its heartbeat. Mechanical and perfect one moment, then human and unpredictable the next. I'd give the editing and pacing an 8 out of 10. It's solid work that guides us from Seahaven's pristine routine into Truman's mounting doubts. But it ranks lower than the film's standout design and direction. let us tune into the soundtrack and sound design next. The score by Burkhard Dalowitz, with that haunting Philip Glass theme, sets the film's emotional tone without ever overwhelming the drama. While the soundtrack also features classical masterpieces by Chopin and Mozart, we shouldn't let those legendary works inflate our assessment. They weren't written for Truman's story. Instead, it is Dalowitz's minimal, repeating piano motifs that echo Truman's looping routine, then swell just enough in moments of discovery to underscore his dawning freedom. On the design side, subtle cues sell the artificial world. The quiet hum of hidden cameras, faint crew chatter, and mechanical clicks that hint at the staged reality. In contrast, moments when all added sound drops away, like when Truman slips below deck, feel startlingly real, drawing us into his perspective. Overall, the audio work is smart and seamless, but it rarely calls attention to itself. And to be honest, it's the one element many viewers may forget entirely. I'd give the soundtrack and sound design a 7 out of 10. Serviceable and thematically supportive of Truman's journey, but ultimately more background ambience than a standout feature compared to the film's production design or direction.
At last, we arrive at my personal feelings on The Truman Show. When I think of this movie, I don't think of the TV studio or the control room. I think of the picturesque town of Seahaven. I want to smell the ocean air at dawn. I want to play dock golf at dusk. Seahaven might be a fake TV town inside a fictional show inside a movie. 2 layers of imagination removed from reality. But I'm sold. I want to live there. And look, I completely understand Truman's decision to leave that artificial world behind. But is it strange that some of us, stuck in traffic, scrolling through noise, sometimes wish we could go the other way? I also think of Sylvia. Not Truman's Sylvia, but my Sylvia. She had a different name. She didn't look like her. But the feeling of meeting her... This is the only movie that's ever captured that feeling perfectly. The spark, the pull, the sense that everything around you is fake, except her. It even nails the small details. Like how the sight of a girl's bracelet can haunt you for years. Every now and then, out of nowhere, Seahaven and Sylvia still cross my mind. And that's why The Truman Show is one of the all-time greats for me. If there's one thing holding it back from a perfect score, it's the soundtrack. It just doesn't quite rise to meet the film's brilliance. My heart says The Truman Show is a 9 out of 10. There you have it, friends. We've ranked each of the 10 categories of The Truman Show, and now it's time to add up the final score. We gave it 10 for the opening and closing scenes, 9 for the main role, 10 for the supporting cast, 8.5 for the script, 9.5 for the direction, 9 for the cinematography, 9 for the production design and VFX, 8 for the editing and pacing, 7 for the soundtrack and sound design, and 9 on my personal scale, for a grand total of 89 out of 100. Clearly an all-time classic. But how does it stack up against other greats? Find out in my next video, where I'll be grading Catch Me If You Can, dropping in about a month. I'd love to hear your scores for each category. I'm sure we'll disagree on a few, maybe even most. But that's the best part of being a movie fan. Arguing, debating, and obsessing over the details. And hey, if you've stuck with me this long, help me hit 1000 subs. It's not every day you spend this much time with a small channel like mine. In the meantime, check out my Forrest Gump video, and let's keep this thing going.